fellow YouTubers, Two Rider here, bringing you something rather special. Well, it's a first for the channel anyway, and a first for me, because I have gone and popped my Harley Cherry, and done it in a big way, because we've gone for the big baby, the Harley Road King. So, yep, we've gone full American Pie, we've gone chrome, we've gone bling, we've done the whole shooting match for you today, and we're going to bring this review of the Harley Road King, the 100th anniversary edition, in the setting of the lovely Cowdrey Park. So we'll get on with the review, and I hope you enjoy it. So here we are, the 2003 Road King. This is the 100th anniversary model. First big shout out to Billy's Motorcycles in Pulborough for loaning me this bike. They really do trust me with some heavy metal, don't they? But yeah, really love to get a chance to ride this bike, and it's been a real privilege today. So, a few things about this bike: the limited edition, and 1450 cc's, around about 350 kilos, something like that. And I must admit that I was quite intimidated by this bike. When I first looked at it, I thought, do I really want to take this out? I really wanted to take it out, but I just thought, oh, is this just going to be a bit of a beast? But what I actually found when I started riding it, actually, how nice and straightforward it was to ride. And it's not a bike you should be intimidated by, really. You will be, but once you get it on the road, you don't. And it also makes you feel a little bit like this, really. And yeah, I got a bit nostalgic for the CIHP chips. But let's get it out on the road for that initial feel, and I'll tell you what I thought about it on the first ride. Now, I will say that this bike was so loud that it was actually clipping my mic terribly. But I'll give you my first impressions on the ride. As I said before, it was intimidating, but do you know what? This was such a smooth ride. The clutch was ultra light. The gearbox was really smooth. Now, I don't only on a sample of one by riding a Harley, and this Harley in particular. I don't know if everybody else experiences that, but this gearbox was incredibly slick. I expected it to be a little bit agricultural. I don't know why. We sort of see Harleys as being just all iron and noise and thumping big pistons and stuff, but actually it was a real pleasant surprise. And the other thing I was shocked about, and I'll put a little bit of footage together later on, was the handling, which was incredibly precise on this bike, and I did expect it to go around corners a bit like a barge, that you'd have to aim it, and that is not the case with this bike. But first impressions of riding the bike were really impressive and very surprising. The suspension was incredibly compliant. I would say that the rear suspension didn't feel dead, but it was very supple. That seat with its lovely little accent on there. I like. There's lots of little accents on this bike which are really sweet. That seat was incredibly comfy and made the rear setup even better. But what I did find on going around some of the bends, particularly in the bumpy roads, was that the front tended to bounce a little bit, um, and I think most of that is probably down to the balloon type tyres you have on these bikes. So, would that be right saying they're balloon tyres? Really, they are pretty fat, but it wasn't to the point of being dangerous. These roads around here, I've got a bit used to a little circuit that I'm doing, because these roads, particularly this part of the Wisborough Green, the roads are shocking. How the locals put up with this, I don't know anymore, because this is one of the worst roads I ever ride. But you felt nothing through the back, uh, and the suspension was really stable. But the front was just a little bit bouncy, maybe. And maybe that is, some others can tell me that they find that with their big Harleys. But it never felt out of control. It always felt very sure-footed, but just a little bit bouncy at times. As you'd expect with Harleys, you get a decent screen. Um, and what was interesting about that screen is that you did get, well, it felt like you got wind protection to your head and face, but the wind was buffeting the mic, and I couldn't quite understand that. Um, so you do get that, but it was incredibly comfy from wind perspective, but just not for my mic, even with the windsock on it. One thing I did find with this bike was it's very difficult to be inconspicuous in it. I did feel like I should have some tassels on here, a bit like Pee Wee Herman and his Schwinn bike. But a lot of people came up to me and remarked on what a lovely bike you got, and some of them I did admit it wasn't mine, but I got bored with that, so I guess, oh yeah, it's nice, and it just got it. One of the other things I noticed about the bike was wheeling it around. And obviously, I was never going to wheel it around without sitting on it, but because you're so low, you're easily flat-footed, so I could push the bike around without too much problem, really. And that was another sort of surprise on this bike. I can imagine if you're on a bit of a slope, it might be a different story, but just pushing it around and getting it into position, it never felt as if it was going to fall over, or that you suddenly had lots of weight appearing on one leg, which compared to a lot of my other bikes that I ride, which are very top heavy, is a problem. But this really wasn't at all. I'm going to take us up to do a bit of a hill start as we come into Petworth, and just so you can get an idea what it's like with the slow handling of this bike. Um, and even though it is, 350 kilos, it 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 as I said earlier, it doesn't show that weight, even when you're really slow riding. Whether it's because you've got the big wheels on here, and these tires are certainly not what you get much bigger tires than this on Harleys, but the slow handling was incredibly stable, and you never felt as if you were going to lean too far and you were going to lose it. It always came up right beautifully, and it's the one thing I did this ride with the Pan-European, if you want to check out one of my earlier videos. And the way when I came away from this bike was thinking that you can have two such polar opposite bikes in how they're constructed and designed, but do exactly the same job. They do it totally differently, but it's amazing, isn't it? You can have two bikes that do the same job but in a completely different way. And I think the Harley is, when you take it out for a ride, it's a more of an occasion. The Pan-European, you're taking it out and it's doing a job brilliantly well and you love riding it, but the Harley is like a real occasion when you take this out, and you can feel all that history in a Harley Davidson. And I was pretty sold on this bike, I must admit. I was surprised how much I liked it. I thought it'll be a bit of a trial and be frightened that I was going to lose it or drop it or it was going to fall over. and those feelings disappeared very, very quickly, because it's not like that at all. And if you get a chance to ride a Harley, it's one of those things, isn't it? If you ride motorbikes, you should be able to get out on a Harley just once, just to see what it's like. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And these big, what I think of the big handlebar Harleys, I know you get those small Lion horses and stuff, which is another sort of bike I like to ride, but these big bar Harleys, they're not as intimidating as you think. Really impressive piece of kit. I did some slow riding around here. You always get stuck through Petworth. There's always somewhere in a 4x4 wanting to wait for a parking space. But I didn't put my feet down at all going through here at incredibly slow speed, and never felt that I needed to put my feet down. It stood upright really, really easily. And as I said, that clutch was beautifully light. Even though it let off quite early, the clutch was stunning. I'll let you hear the engine a little bit, because it's only the slow bits you can hear the engine easy without being clipped. Such a special little burble, isn't it, from the Harley V twin. When you look at the switchgear and all the rest of it, this is actually really nice, solid. A lot of travel on there. That's not adjustable, that brake, so that's quite interesting. But everything is metal. Nice metal grips. Switchgear, it's good quality. You can't knock it for that. Your brake reservoirs, they're all metal and chromed as well. But yeah, a lot of chrome on this bike. You're going to be polishing this for ever and a day, aren't you? But it is a nice place to sit, I will say that. And it was a very easy bike to get used to very quickly. Didn't have a problem with that. As soon as I sat on the bike, I thought, well, this is going to be it's a great risk of this falling over, but you don't get that after a short period. But the gears, you do find the gears, first and second are quite short, but third, it seems to sit in third really nicely, sitting on the road. You got your panniers. These, I believe, come as standard because they are for this bike, but they're pretty cavernous. They're leather, so I can get all my camera gear in here. These are fake though, or false as such. So you've got your tabs underneath on there. Makes it nice and safe and secure. I do like these side plates. Definitely set up, aren't they, for pillion Harleys. Phenomenal. That's really heavy. It's got a nice positive click on it. So I'll go around and pick out some of the accents that I really like on this bike. I love the paint. I think the silver and it's sort of black. It's sort of off black. Can you have off black? Grey, isn't it? The gold coach lines on there, which is really, really pretty. Plenty of chrome for you polishing buffs out there. And what's nice, all the little details have all got extra little piece of HD on there. I mean, that's nice, isn't it? You have this, will I say complicated? You've got the on off here, which sort of arms or disarms the bike, if you like, and then you've got the fob, which I will show you. So it's just like a keyless bike. So you've got the fob here, and if I get on the bike now, the alarm will go off. So you've got to tap that twice, and then that will stop the bike doing that, and it's ready to go. So you've got the run and off. That's how you switch the bike off, and obviously your standard start button. Your indicators, which is I sort of quite like. It takes a little while to get used to. You got on and off. So for the right and left, this one, and you got the same on the other, and you press it again to cancel it. Horn and all those bits and pieces on here. I mean, it's certainly nothing which is conventional compared to all the other bikes I ride. So we've got the rocker gear shifter on here, so you've got the tail and front. The only thing I will say that I've noticed riding this bike is that seems to get in the way of my heel, so it feels like you can't put your feet into a natural position. But that may well be just because I'm riding bikes with where the pegs are back here, so my inclination is to naturally bring that back, but it doesn't feel like it matches the other side, when it makes things a little bit awkward. But I think that's just the thing. If I only rode this bike, I'd understand that. So that 1450 engine is a peach, and do you know these big twins? You don't get that vibration like you would say in a Motor Guzzi or something like that. The brakes, I tended to use the rear brake, but all of the front. But this bike is heavy, and I found when you come to a bit of a rolling stop, it really does roll, and you really do need those brakes. But the brakes are okay. The rear one's good. You've got the twin discs on the front, but they're not massive discs. I put a little bit about the handling here. Just showed you some of the bits of road that I took it on. But yeah, it did go around corners, and I'm trying to think. This handles better than my Bonneville, my 214. My Bonneville was quite slow at handling, but this was really, really sweet. I did notice that some of the very slow corners when I was going through Petworth, I actually had to turn the steering. But yeah, my Triumph, you can almost get caught out in corners. This you didn't. It swung itself so lovely into the bend. So I was again really surprised. My overriding thought about this bike was just how damn refined it was, for such a big thumping, V twin, and also the condition of it, because this bike is in excess of 20 years old, and it's really holding its condition well. For a bike, for sale, which is just over 10 grand, that's not a bad price to pay for a lot of metal. You think you could weigh it in for that? And yeah, it was a really, really enjoyable and surprising morning out on this bike. So with my Harley cherry popped, I'll leave it there. Right, I'm going to head back, put this lovely machine back to Billy's. Now I'll just show you the startup sequence so I'll get this right. So that's got to go on. So I'll dip that. So that's the thing. I'll stick that in my pocket. That's on. Clutch in. Start button. Oh, that's a good sound. That's a really good sound if you can still hear me. Right, I will head back. We're in gear. We're all good. Right, I shall enjoy the ride back. Thanks for watching, everyone. I know I tend to waffle a bit with some of my reviews, but I sort of say it as I find it. But do subscribe, and I will see you in the next run, and ride safe, everyone.